Well, hey, friends, and welcome to another episode of Remix Moments with Martine. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas. And this is kind of the week in between where we are wrapping up the holidays and looking forward to the new year. And I wanted to take some time today to dive into something that often gets overlooked in the hustle and the bustle of the season, and that is celebrating your wins. And as we approach the end of the year, it's so easy to focus on what didn't go as planned, the goals we didn't quite hit, or the projects that we didn't finish. But today I want to flip the script and I want to focus on what did go well. Because no matter what, I can promise you there are wins to be celebrated, big or small. We celebrate them all here. So in this episode, I'm going to share some of my biggest wins from this year, why celebrating them matters, and how you can create a simple celebration ritual to honor all that you've accomplished. So let's jump in. Welcome to Remix Moments with Martine, where we will remix your mindset one moment at a time. I'm your host, Martine Williams, and I'm here to bring you a quick burst of inspiration, insight, and a fresh spin on your mompreneur journey. In just a few minutes, we'll remix your mindset, energize your day, and keep you moving forward with purpose. Let's dive in to today's moment. So first, let's talk about why celebrating wins is so important. When you take time to acknowledge what you've accomplished, it's not just about patting yourself on the back. It's about building your confidence, creating more momentum, and reminding yourself that progress, no matter how small, is still progress. Y'all know I'm all about progress and perfection over here. But as moms and entrepreneurs, we often are so focused on taking care of everyone else or reaching the next goal that we forget to pause and say, wow, I did that. And to be really, really proud of yourself. But celebrating even the smallest of wins, like sticking to a new habit for a week or making one connection that moves your business forward, can have a huge impact on your mindset. And let me remind you, a win doesn't have to be a monumental one to be worth celebrating. It's not always about the big, shiny achievements. Sometimes the most meaningful wins are quiet and personal, like saying no to something that wasn't aligned with your priorities, or making time for self-care in the middle of a chaotic season. So I want to get a little personal and share a few of my wins from this year, not to brag. Let me say that from the very top, not to brag, but to inspire you to think about your own. Think about the ways you could be so incredibly proud of yourself and at the same time see the miracles in it, right? See that you are an amazing woman gifted by God to do great things, and you did some great things this year. So I listened to a podcast episode that my coach did celebrating some of her wins, and it really did just inspire me to share some of mine with you, because you all have been with me on this journey. You've listened to this podcast all year long, or maybe you're brand new. And if you are, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here. This is a great episode for you to tune into, maybe for the very first time. But in 2024, my word of the year was abide. And the definition was from Marshawn Evans, and she defines abide as living in a state of expectancy. I'd never heard abide described in that way. And I remember just being so excited at the end of 2023 and wanting to live in a state of expectancy, not experience. Because if you remember, the year before was the year that I left my multi-six-figure business because God called me out and said my assignment was done there and he had something new for me. And that was a really, really hard decision. And so as I was thinking about it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to live in a state of expectancy. Like, I'm expecting God to do big things in the year 2024. And I had no idea what 2024 held for me. And so I'm going to share some of that with you now. And some of that I'm going to give details, and some of it I am not. But let's start with some business wins for me. And honestly, as I think about how this year has unfolded, I feel like my word should have been growth, because on all levels, there has been growth, which is so fun to think back a year ago of where I was personally, where I was professionally, and where I am today. And that is really the one word that sums it up. Yes, abide. I was definitely living in a state of expectancy. So it really was two parts for me. But as I now go back and theme the year, it definitely was growth. So let's talk about some of those wins, those business wins. Let's start there first. So my business grew. So, I'm a life and business coach for mompreneurs, and my business grew 193% in 2024. Like, what? Y'all, I am so proud of that number for various reasons. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So I'm just going to keep going and then I'll come back to that. But I hit the six figure mark as a coach for the very first time. I've hit six figures before, but not specifically from my coaching business. So that was super fun. And I became a fully booked out coach. So I am completely full in my one-on-one practice. And I did that without being on social media. I don't know if you remember me taking a break. I said I was going to take a 30-day break from social media. And I am still I slowly started coming back on the last, I would say 2 months. But for a good chunk of the year, I was not present on social media. And that I'll share with you on some of my personal wins. But I just really felt that needed to go. I needed to take a break. And I'd seen people take a break before on social media, like 30-day break. And that was really my intention, was to take 30 days off, regroup, reset, and come back. And I just loved being able to have the opportunity to create real experiences for you, my community, to engage with me, whether it was coming here on the podcast more, which is another win, is that I actually added an additional episode each week for this podcast. And so it was taking a break from social media that allowed me to do that. It allowed me to think more creatively, for me to think of the workshops and the free masterclasses and webinars that I held this year to help you to protect your greatest asset, to help you to get re-energized and get refocused after the summer. Like, I held multiple opportunities for you to connect with me via webinars this year. And those are they're in alignment with my strengths. I love to teach, I love to train, and I love to get together with all of you and have like real connections, not posting and praying and hoping that you see it. So it really proved to me that while I will be back on social media in 2025, the capacity and how I show up will be different. And it'll be from a place of alignment and fun and excitement, and something that I want to do versus, oh goodness, I haven't posted in a while, I need to go out there and post. But I became fully booked out. And when I tell peers that I'm in a mastermind with, that I booked out my coaching practice without being on social media, they all just look at me like a deer in headlights. Like, how did you do that? Right. And I want to give God the credit in a lot of this, because it definitely is Him giving me the strength and giving me the creativity and giving me the push to get off of social media and to give my brain that opportunity to think creatively and really just refocus and be able to show up in different ways for you all. But I am really, really proud of myself for accomplishing those things. And when I think about why that gets me so excited to think about hitting the six-figure mark, growing my business 193% and becoming fully booked out, that represents to me women who invested in themselves, because all of those things came from me working with you, working with mompreneurs, working with women in business, working with women in entrepreneurship. And that means that women invested in themselves this year. And that just gets me fired up, y'all. They invested in their business. They invested in their growth. And that just makes me so, so proud to have been a part of that step for those women, and even the women that I'm working with today and the ones I'm going to work with in 2025. So if you're listening to this, you're like, I want to be one of her, we want to be one of those people in Martine's community and be a part of her one-on-one experience, please send me a message, or you can go to martinewilliams.com. You can book your free clarity call. We will be doing those in January again. But that's what gets me so excited. It's not just about the numbers. Yes, I'm super proud of those numbers, but it's really just the names that I know are attached to those numbers. And it just really gets me excited. I also launched my very first group in 5 years. So if you've been following me for a hot minute, you know my very first thing that I launched outside of my business with 31 Gifts was Choose You, which was my first course and group coaching program. And I love that course. I love that program. It's still a big piece of my work that I do with my one-on-one clients. It's helping you to make yourself a priority without feeling the guilt. But I also launched Illuminate You Collective. So one of my big goals or I don't even know if you want to call it a goal, but mission, I guess, is that every single woman gets to experience the Pro Scan, which is a personality performance assessment. I've seen it change lives. I've seen it change relationships. I've seen it create so much confidence and momentum and business growth in the women that I'm working with. And so the collective was an opportunity, and still is. We're only halfway through that 8-week program, is giving women the opportunity to do this together collectively. And that was really fun to try something different and to put a group together. And it was really something I felt super compelled to do as 31 announced their doors were closing. And I started thinking about, how can I support all of these women that I know, love, and understand what they are going through? Because I left, 3 years prior, and while the doors were closed on them and I decided to close my own doors, the emotions were similar, and the feeling of, well, what's next is similar. And the feeling of what am I going to do was the same. Right. And so that I just really felt compelled. And the coolest thing about that experience, and I'll just kind of share some behind the scenes with you here, is that I didn't have a lot of time to get stuck in perfectionism. Yes, I have perfectionism tendencies in me. I didn't have time to spend a lot of time in my mind with drama, like how should I do this? When should I do this? What steps, like to go through all of that. I just felt so compelled, and time was of the essence because these women needed this information. And so that was really cool to see me move a little faster than I normally like to do. I like to process. I like to make things, T's crossed and I's dotted. And I just really felt like the Lord put it on my heart. Like you just got to go. You just got to gag and go, as one of my peers says. Like it feels uncomfortable and you're not sure, but you're going to go. And it's been incredible for these women inside this group. And I can't wait to see what the next 4 weeks hold for them. So another win for me was my full circle moment as the keynote speaker at 31's national conference this summer. So many of you know, I was with 31 for 16 years, and I've spoken for them before virtually. I've spoken for them on stage before, but this was a real unique opportunity to be on the outside of the pink bubble, not being one of their top leaders anymore, not having a business with them anymore, and be invited back in to speak to all of those women in the room that I very first had my stage presence. My very first speech or talk that I did with 31 was in the same room that this conference was in. So it was just a really surreal moment for me to be back in the pink bubble, the bubble that just really always makes me feel at home. And I was able to just speak life and speak hope and speak like, it's time to decide. Like my whole talk was on ready isn't a feeling you feel, it's a decision that we make. And I've had to teach that to myself several times over this year. I've had to remind myself of those things, but I am super proud of that moment, because as I decided to close my doors with 31, one of my biggest goals in doing that was to leave with integrity and to burn no bridges and to leave in such an honorable way, because I love 31. I love 31. And it was such a great business for me, a great entrepreneur, personal development journey for me as well, all of those 16 years. And so that was super important to me. And so the fact that I was invited back to speak to their field was just, again, a full circle moment. And then last but not least, I invested in a 6-month mastermind. Now, I have had a coach of some sort in my life for 16, 17 years. I just have always believed in coaching. I shouldn't say always, but after experiencing my first coaching with my coach, Sherry McAllister, she's not Sherry McAllister anymore. Can't remember what her married name is now. Anyway, she was my coach for 16 years, really pretty much my entire 31 career. And I've also been in group coaching programs. So I believe fully in coaching. But after I left 31 and retired from 31, God was very clear on taking a season of rest and not really investing in anything like that. And so it had been a while since I had invested in either a one-on-one coach or into a program. And so this was my first bigger investment that I've had in a really long time. And it has been so, so valuable to be in a space with people who are thinking more abundantly than me, people who are steps ahead of me in their own businesses, having those sideline peers and colleagues, like the support, the coaching, the training that I've received this year. My business has shown the growth that I've had. A lot of it has come from this 6-month mastermind that I've been in. And so that was a really cool win also, because listen, I get it. I've been investing in coaching for years, as I just said, but each investment is still, I still pause to think about it. I still pause to think like, can I make this investment? Should I make this investment? And so I want you to know, if that's you and you're listening, you're thinking through 2025 and maybe you're thinking about investing in coaching, whether it's with me or someone else, like, I get it. It can be scary. It can be like, is it going to work for me? So I get those thoughts that are running through your mind, but I will tell you that it's not whether it'll work for you. It's whether you're willing to commit to the work. It's just like exercise equipment. All of the exercise equipments, the old and the new, latest and greatest equipment, they all work if you work it, right? And so part of my goal when I invest is to make that investment back. And so I get to work with those investments. So I just wanted to share that with you. If you're thinking about it and you're like, what's wrong with me that I can't just invest? I get it. It can be hard to do that. But you know what? It's also hard to stay stuck. So you get to choose your heart here. Are you going to choose to stay stuck, stay in the revolving door? I talked about that in a previous episode. Or are you ready to evolve? Are you ready to grow? And are you ready to have the support to do that? So that's you. Go to martinewilliams.com, click the link to sign up for a free clarity call. It's 100% free, no strings attached. You know, you can always count on me to have those ready for you. Okay, so let's talk about some personal wins. So not only did I invest in 6 months of coaching and a mastermind, I also invested in therapy. It's been a long time since I invested in therapy, and I've talked on here many times where if that's the next step for you and that's what you need, there's no shame in your game. There's no shame in asking for help and the support you need. So whether it's a coach or whether it's therapy, go get the help that you need. But again, I understand how it feels to invest in that. I understand how it feels to look in the mirror and work on yourself. It's hard work to work on yourself. It takes time. It takes investment. It takes being honest. It takes shedding some tears. It's some work, right? But I needed this support this year. A second personal win for me was an alcohol-free. I'm still alcohol-free, y'all. Similar to the 30-day break that I took with social media, I was just curious. I decided to take 30 days off of any alcohol. And over a year later now, I'm still alcohol-free and loving it. So I'm super, super proud of that. Number one, because I feel so much better. But it was a habit, right? It was a bad habit. And not necessarily a daily habit, but it just wasn't helping me, right? It wasn't helping me move forward in my business. And I really feel like now that I look at 2024, I feel like it was not a removal, but like a cleansing. It was like, God was really showing me the things that were important and the things that were moving me forward and the things that were hindering or hurting my success on all levels. And alcohol was one of them. And so over a year now, still alcohol free. And I will share, there's lots of fun alternatives out there now. So if this is something that you're thinking about as we move into the new year, maybe that's one of your resolutions. I feel about resolutions, but that's for a whole other episode. But there are lots of fun alternatives if you're getting ready to go into dry January that are out there for you. Now, you don't have to just drink boring water. Okay. Another personal win is the fighting for my mindset in one of the most challenging seasons of my life personally. I remember I thought 31 and retiring from 31 was going to be one of the biggest, hardest challenges that I have had recently. And that was like a cakewalk, considering what 2024 was and the things that I worked through. And again, I've kind of, not I'm teasing it, but it's just not the right time to share all of those details with you on what it was all about. But just know that it's part of the reason that I went off of social media, because I just did not have the emotional capacity to show up on social in the way that I did before. I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of writing, a lot of praying, a lot of seeking out the Lord in such a strong personal way. And my faith, that's my these two are probably my most proudest things. That's not a word. My most proud moments is the fighting that I had to do for my mindset. And a lot of that came from investing in therapy and me learning things about myself, learning why I like, I learned that I have avoidance behavior. And because I'm the positive person, I'm the one who's supposed to be encouraging everyone. And so I am definitely like, okay, got it, moving on, right? I don't do a lot of processing of my emotions and feeling the things I need to feel. So just the fighting for my mindset when things were really, really, really hard. I'm just so proud that I was able to do that. Not alone. I had God and I had therapy and I had friends that surrounded me during that season. And some of you are listening, and I'm super thankful for y'all. Almost made it without some tears. That I'm just super proud of myself. I'm proud of the friends that I have, the relationships that I have, and to be on the other side and the growth that I've experienced in my faith and dependence on God like never, never before. And the interesting thing is, at the end of 2023, one of the things that I did with Jade Simmons, who was a guest, sorry, my brain blocked out there for a minute. She was a guest on my podcast. She wrote the book, Purpose the Remix. And she does this thing. She's not doing it this year, but she did the last couple of years where she called it It's Great Week. And so it's that time after Christmas before the new year. And there's 3 questions that she kind of proposes that we in our quiet time ask God about. And the first one was, who am I? The second one is, what do I need to know now? And then the third one is, where am I going? And so I saved this from last year because I wanted to be able to go back and reflect on it and find, like, kind of connect the dots to how the year ended up unfolding. So under who am I, what the Lord told me at that time was that I'm supernaturally infused with strength. And when I think about my 2024, I couldn't have made it through without that supernaturally infused strength that he gave me. He also said that I was armored up, or to get armored up. Ephesians 6:10-12. He also said that I was renewed. And I kind of wrote down some definitions of renewed, like changing into something new and different. I'm a different person, y'all, than I was at the beginning of 2024. Another definition was resumed activity after interruption. So I'm like, yep, that one made sense to me because he totally interrupted my life with me leaving 31. And I'm like, okay, we're going to resume normal activity. I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to get back to building. He also said I was reestablished. Like, renew means reestablished. So reestablishing me to give fresh life to, fresh strength to revive. And the last thing he said about being renewed was replace, like something that is broken or worn out. He also said that I was assured and certain that God was with me and that I was consecrated, made or declared sacred, formally dedicated me, ordained me to a sacred office, devoted exclusively to a particular purpose, and dedicated to a higher purpose. Those are all things under consecrated. And when I think about my year, I see those things in this year. So the second question was, what do I need to know now? And God was very clear on that. He just said, God's got this. Psalm 46:8-11. Stop striving to figure it out. Stop trying to force it. Stop trying to hustle and grind after it. And when I tell y'all this is the year of surrender, complete surrender, it really was. Like, it's another word that I could have used for this year outside of abide, was just completely surrendering, not trying to figure everything out. Even in my business, like just letting go and having curious energy, like just being curious about what I could do next, being curious about the next client, being curious about all the things, and stop striving to make it perfect or stop striving to hustle and grind after it. And then the last question was, where am I going? And he said, establishing and confirming my calling. And that 100% has happened this year as he has established my business, established my brand, confirmed time after time after time. When I prayed this year for growth, when I prayed for the next client, when I prayed for all of those things. And if he had given it to me when I asked for it because of what I went through in 2024, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I know I wouldn't have, because his timing is always perfect. And it was like he would bring business He would bring me a new client, he'd bring me a new woman to work with at the absolute perfect time, on the day where I felt like, is it time to close up shop? On the day that nothing's working, on those days where my brain really was just so consumed with life and other things that I was going through, he would bring me those moments of encouragement and 100% confirming and establishing the calling that he put on my life to open up this coaching business. So it's really cool to look back on my year and see these things. And again, like I just am so proud. I'm so thankful, number one. And I'm also just very, very proud of what all I've been able to accomplish this year, considering the immense challenges that were in front of me. And again, it's because of him. He gave me the supernatural strength. He had me armored up, and he was with me. He was for me, and he's with me, and he's for you, and he's with you as you move into your 2025. So enough about me, but hopefully this will inspire you to think through what some of your wins are. What are things that you are celebrating? And so this episode is longer than 15 minutes. I meant to say that at the beginning, but thank you if you're still hanging in there with me. So how do we celebrate these wins? I want you to be thinking about some ideas to help you to celebrate, to reflect on this year. The point is to take a moment to acknowledge yourself and your journey. You may also be able to look back and acknowledge and just see those God moments where he showed up. He showed up when you least expected it, or showed up in ways that it's only him that was able to help you through that moment. So here's a few ideas. I want you to write a list of your wins in a journal or on a sticky note and put them somewhere that you'll see them. I use the Notes app on my phone. As I was listening to my coach share her wins, like it really did spark some creativity. So sparks, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. And, oh yeah, this happened. And oh yeah, this happened. So this would be really great for you to do as you're listening to this. You probably have some fresh ideas in your head right now, just listening to me talk. Share your wins with a friend, accountability partner, or community. You may not have a podcast, but you have a family. You have a friend. You have a community somewhere where you can share these wins. And then treat yourself to something special, whether it's a favorite coffee, a relaxing day at the spa, or just a simple walk in nature. Maybe it's going to get another book or get a new devotional. Treat yourself to something special, because you probably worked hard this year. Whether you worked hard personally, professionally, spiritually, most of you that are listening, you're the go-getters. You're the people who are striving. And I have to remind you to cease striving and to be still and know that God's got you, and he has you now, and he has you in 2025. But we don't treat ourselves enough. We don't sit back and think about all the things we have accomplished and treat yourself to something fun. So here's your permission slip. Go and do that. Okay. You could also write a letter to yourself and reflect on the year and acknowledge what you've accomplished and give yourself permission to feel proud. It's such a powerful exercise, and I highly recommend that you try that. And again, I want to give you the permission to feel proud. I know we talked about confidence and humility and how they can coexist. And again, when I say I'm proud of myself, I'm not discrediting the miracles that have happened for me this year and the miracles that are going to happen in 2025. But we can feel proud. It's okay to feel excited and proud of the work that you did on yourself this year and the goals that you accomplished. So before we wrap up, I want to challenge you to take some time this week to celebrate your wins. Make a list, create a ritual, whether it's writing a letter or journaling, and simply take a moment to say, wow, I did that. And if you're feeling brave, I'd love for you to share one of your wins with me. So you can come find me on Instagram. I'm back on there, like I said, not full time, but I'm back on there. So you can send me a DM at Martine Williams. I'd love to celebrate with you. And remember, every step forward is worth acknowledging. So thank you for tuning in to this Remix Moments with me. And let's close this year with gratitude and a step into the next with even more confidence and joy. And I'll see you next time. Happy New Year. Well, that's it, friends, for this Remix Moment. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me, and I hope that you are feeling inspired and ready to take on whatever comes your way. Remember, even small moments can lead to big changes. If this moment made a difference, be sure to subscribe, share with your fellow moms, and leave me a quick review. Seriously, it means the world to me to hear from you. And until next time, I am believing in you, and I will catch you in the next moment.